An update from Baghdad. I'm Ed Kelley, editor of The Oklahoman. With me from Washington is Mark Green, national editorial writer for The Oklahoman and a frequent commentator here on News OK TV. The Iraq War is front and center in Washington today with General David Petraeus, our top military man in Iraq, testifying before the Senate Armed Services Committee. This was the first time the general has been on Capitol Hill since last September, which was a major news event at the time. Mark, General Petraeus said he'd recommend a pause in the withdrawal of American troops in the middle of this year without setting any kind of a hard timetable. How did the general's recommendation today play with members of the committee?
It pretty much depended on which side of the issue you're on. Republicans tend to like Petraeus' recommendation, as well as that of Ambassador Crocker, to stay the current strategy of creating security, allowing some of Iraq's institutions to grow. Democrats didn't like that much. They still think that a withdrawal plan needs to be set and needs to begin soon.
So a real partisan divide then, at least among members of the Armed Services Committee.
Well, I thought so. In fact, it kind of struck me that as much as there has been some political progress in Iraq, and there have been a number of things that the Iraqi politicians have done in recent weeks, there's really no progress in the political debate here in Washington. They're pretty much stalemated.
Okay, two of the presidential candidates, John McCain, the Republican nominee, and Hillary Clinton, who obviously wants to be the Democratic nominee, are on the Armed Services Committee. What was their posture today in front of the committee?
I thought both of them were fairly subdued. McCain was the first Republican questioner, and he concentrated on some of the recent trouble that the Iraqis had in Basra, the southern city, asking Petraeus really some practical questions about how the situation could be resolved and maybe some of the same problems avoided in the future. Senator Clinton was equally subdued, I thought. She gave a fairly long statement, really not asking any questions. And then at the end, she pretty much asked whether there was enough political progress going on there to justify the continued presence of American troops. So
you didn't hear any surprises from either one of the candidates?
Not really. I thought they were both pretty much low-keying it. Like I said, I thought McCain was fairly practical in terms of what the specific questions he was asking, and Senator Clinton used her time mostly to repeat the statements that she's been making on the campaign trail.
Finally, Mark, how do you think the general's remarks and recommendations are going to play out with the American people over the next few days?
Well, I think that Petraeus and Ambassador Crocker are both very credible as testifiers, as messengers from the front, so to speak. Petraeus' testimony was very sober. He acknowledged that the road ahead remains very tough, very problematic.
Right.
But he wasn't overly pessimistic about the hope for American goals to be resolved in the future. And the same with Ambassador Crocker. They're both very low-key and I think very credible with the American people.
Okay, Mark, thanks. Look for more commentary from Mark Green here on News OK TV, and stay here on newsok.com for more updates on General Petraeus' appearances in Washington this week.